Hi, I'm Trisella. It starts with a T, in case you're wondering. It seems to bewilder people for some reason. So I just want to do a summary of all the things I've encountered and audio clips and things I've gotten since I found an active Sasquatch site. And I did a summary last fall, but the camera was kind of really old, and anyway, the video quality sucked, and I'm not a videographer anyway. I don't like being on the side of the camera. But in early 2023, I was collecting railroad spikes. I figured, I have an Etsy shop, and I figured why not sell spikes too, because people do blacksmithing projects and they make knife handles and stuff. So this area is wilderness. There's railroad tracks, and there's a small, lightly traveled road there, and a highway in the distance. So you might hear semi-horns in the audio clips and noisy traffic in the distance. It's a lightly, I mean, compared to downstate, definitely it's not a heavily traveled highway. Anyway, let's see here. I got my notes so I can just go quickly and not forget anything, hopefully. So I haven't actually gotten to see it yet, but he's been very, very close to me. And I'm in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. And I think the nearest house is about a mile away from there. So anyway, I bent down to pick up a railroad spike, and I went to pick it up, and I went to stand up, and I was like, wait a second. I had to do a double take. There was these two huge foot-shaped indents in the rocks right there, 17-inch footprints. And those rocks they cut them or crushed them in such a way that they lock together, because we have the heavy trains going by every day. It would just shake the rocks down. So they have the rocks built in a hill on either side. It's kind of hard to, for me anyway, to climb up and down those rocks. And I tried stomping, and you can't even see where I was. These were pretty deep indents, and I looked down. I could see a couple lighter ones. It's like he stood up and then just stood with all his weight looking across at the road or the highway. And I couldn't see any evidence that he actually crossed the railroad tracks. So then I looked up where it would have come from, and then there's this big hill on the left and really thick brush on the right, so you could see where he came through. And there were two small broken trees broken across the path, which I thought was kind of quinky-dinky, you know. And then it turns out there's a hidden lake back there too. I had no idea. I'd been there several times before, and I had no idea I was probably watched several times before too. So then I walked farther down. I'm probably squinting a lot because that sun's we finally got some sun, yay. But I walked farther down the railroad tracks, and then I found a spot where he walked up in an arch shape and back next to the railroad tracks, and then back down again. And I looked in the woods right there. It's not a spot where someone would just, hey, let's walk in the woods here. It's very rough terrain, very thick brush. There's zero reason for anybody to go off in the woods there. But I saw there were actually two tall, skinny conifer trees with just the top snapped off. And there was a big tree, dead or alive, I don't know, it could have been natural, but they were stacked right on top of that thing. So I thought that's kind of suspicious, but I wasn't sure. I couldn't picture this big Sasquatch climbing a skinny tree just to snap the top off, but I know better now, because I call it the barrier now. It's really been elaborated on. There's branches it's like a fence. A lot of trees and brush bent down. It's like, stay out of here. Which seemed weird to me, because there's no reason anyone would go there anyway, except maybe that's right where he lives, back in that spot, and he's just being extra careful. I don't know. Anyway, so let's see. Yeah, I think it was it was the second time I went back. I walked around quite a bit, making a lot of noise, just, you know, walking in the leaves and the rocks, and the point being that a bear would have taken off. A moose. By the way, I've never found bear prints, big bear teeth marks in anything there. And I walked farther down where that arch-shaped track was, and I decided, okay, I'm going to start making some deliberate sounds. and head back to the car. So I started whistling as loud as I could, just single whistles. I can't do like the concert whistle thing, but I can whistle pretty loud. I clanged a couple spikes together, feeling really silly. And right away, I heard just to my left, just in the tree line, something big and heavy walking. I heard 3 steps. Zoom, I took off down the tracks. I wasn't that far from the car. But when I got to the car, I didn't leave for a long time. I waited, and I looked, and I listened. I half expected to see him walk out of the woods, but nothing after that. Not a peep, nothing. So I stayed and waited, and finally left. And so then a month later, I was a mile north of there, picking up railroad spikes again. And right there, I could see where he stepped up to the railroad tracks, and he turned, and he kind of stepped on the back side of one of his steps and went back, and I could see some lighter ones. And it turns out there's a really overgrown hidden path there. A friend went back with me later last year, and he thinks it's an old logging road, but it's really hard to see. And just a short distance back, there were all kinds of trees, dead ones and live ones, bent and broke, and there was an X there. Some of the trees were like, it's not snow low, they were live trees, bent very sharply. And then you go back a short distance, and there was another X, and then another X, and those 2 X were the same, and that on one side a tree was bent, and then the other side of the tree was broke, and it made an X, and you can still see them there. They're not as good as they were before. I dropped my notes. And let's see. Yeah, so in the fall, I thought, well, I had a bunch of apples in my yard, trying to remember everything in order, and I decided, well, I'll take a big bucket of apples and a trail camera back there that I had. And then I didn't expect to get them on the trail camera, because I've heard way too many stories of how they purposely avoid the cameras, and I've tried cameras in many different ways. I've left my old one sitting running a couple times. I've tried trail cameras. The trail camera will be pulled out and on its face and stuff like that. I did get a couple deer, or a few deer on the trail camera, and I left it for a week, and I took all that out, and I heard some weird things on the recorder, but I wasn't sure what it was. And so this last spring I went back before all the snow had melted. I thought maybe I can find some prints or something. So I walked back by the lake, and right by the lake there's this big tree in the path where I had to go, where I put the camera, and all the branches were ripped out and put right in the pathway in one spot. They didn't fall all over. They were deliberately put, like saying, stay out of here. And I figured he probably was upset because I put all these yummy apples, but then put the camera on it so he couldn't get to the apples. So then I thought, how do I know if he's still here this year, which was last year? So I had no intention of gifting, and I don't like the term gifting. It sounds too much like offerings. Like, some people talk like they worship these things, and I worship the Creator, not the created. And I have boundaries with these things that I won't cross that other people do. And anyway, so I left some food and a recorder, and then I happened to meet Brian from Bigfoot, Michigan in the Sioux, and I asked if he'd like to come and see the tracks and some other things. I got my kitty here, and so I was showing him around, and I picked up the recorder while he was there, and I even picked up a wrapper, and I said, oh, it's probably just a raccoon, because I'm thinking he probably just moved through. He's not staying there still. And boy, was I wrong, because when I listened to the recorder back, literally 15 seconds after I turned to walk up the hill there, he was at the recorder, handling the recorder, because I was listening, and I heard myself place the recorder, which is pretty loud, and I'm putting leaves on it, so it rustles really loud, and I heard myself adjusting it and adjusting it. I'm like, wait a second, I wasn't there that long. And then I hear myself up on the hill whistling, which I do before I leave. It was him at the recorder. And there's no way I shouldn't have been able to see him there. I have a really hard time wrapping my head around cloaking, but I can't see any other explanation how he could be right there. According to his footprint size, he would be a little over 9 feet tall. And there are other ones there too, because I've heard rock clacking in responses and stuff. So anyways, that started my journey all last summer. A couple times a week I'll leave a recorder. One of them will record for almost 2 nights. And let's see, make sure I don't forget anything. Oh yeah, that was the first night. The first vocalization was that night too. It was a loud "ee-ah," and I've heard that many times now. Most of the time, he always does the vocalizations at a distance. He loves the recorders. I even tried putting, since he does the vocalizations at a distance, I tried moving the camera farther away from the gifting site. But what he does is he takes the food to the recorder. He likes the recorders. And when I come back, he'll hang out off and on all night long, and I get different sounds. And when I go back, the wrappers, the peanut butter jar I use sometimes to put peanuts in, eggshells, that'll all be back at the gifting site. So it's like he has a strong sense of, I better put it back where I got it. Yet he has stolen, I lost 3 recorders, which I couldn't afford to begin with. I wanted to get some better recorders, but I think I'll stick with the cheap ones because he took 3. He took 5 dice total and 2 little, just cheap dollar store little cars. Hopefully some of that'll show up this summer. It's only March here in Uperland, and we had some, like today, some warm-ups, so the snow shrunk a lot, but we've got 3 to 5 inches coming tomorrow night, so I know better. It's only March in Uperland. But I'm hoping for an early spring. I can't wait to get out there. I got a couple new gadgets and a much, much better camera, which I still have to learn how to use. And got off track a little there. Oh, and I have a friend who, well, someone I know who sent me an audio clip of one hollering "E-O," and I thought that kind of validated mine because I'd never heard of them making that sound. I've never heard a whoop. I hear "ee-ah," or I've heard just a general "ah" kind of yell. It sounds kind of funny to me. And yeah, I found a patch of twisted trees behind the lake. Something like 5 or 6 at least, twisted trees and broken trees, all in that one area, twisted different directions. It's not snow load and dry rot. By the way, one of the reasons I want to do this summary is I post so many little clips, and you just get one tiny little piece of the puzzle. You have to take it all together, so that's why I'm doing this summary. I don't like recording myself and all that, but I felt it's important to do a summary. Plus, I have some extra stuff that was after my last time I tried to do this. And I've gotten several different kinds of whistles, including steam whistle, and I've heard other encounters where they hear steam whistle sound, and they're very breathy. It's not a mechanical sound. Lately, at the end of last season, he was doing a lot of these, what I call half-hearted whistles, where it's like he's half-hearted doing all these whistles, and sometimes it's just air, like shh, or he'll whistle a little. And I get mouth sounds, clicks and pops, tongue clacks. I've gotten rock clacks, tree knocks. It doesn't really sound like trees to me, though. I'm not sure. Some think they do it with their mouth. I think maybe they do sometimes. Maybe they'll do it with a branch. Maybe sometimes they do it with their mouth. We don't know. And one time I caught spirit voices on my recorder, which was a little freaky. I don't interact with those. The Bible's pretty clear, and they're very deceptive, which is probably why we're not supposed to, because I see people deceived all the time. Oh, this and that, and it's like, no, you're probably hearing a demonic spirit. But anyway, when I'm working on something, I'm finishing up, I'll go like, okay, and I'll say that out loud, okay. And I think I do that a lot more than I realize, and I'll place the recorder, okay, and I'll think, oh, I better adjust it, okay. And this was after dark, in the rain, in a spot that is the first time I put this recorder, zero chance it was a person. It was male voices and female voices, very breathy, kind of saying, okay, okay, like that. And I missed one. On one recording I was listening to recently, I heard another whisper. I couldn't tell what it was saying. And one time I took pictures of some stuff on a hill in that general area, and the flash went off because it was kind of a dark day, but I don't like the flash going off. And so I was annoyed. I shut the flash off. I took another picture. They look almost exactly the same, except when I got home, the photo without the flash, so no bugs or dust, there's all these orbs. They look like bubbles. Over 20. Some are really tiny. I had to zoom in the picture to see them. Some of them, and some are big, but there's a big white one, and there's something in the background there I want to measure, see if I can kind of get at least a so-so idea maybe how big this thing was. It looks big, white, but you can see light or energy radiating around it. So that was a big surprise. Very often he makes what I call a Velcro sound. I just lump it all together. Sometimes it's like a scratch, but he does it over and over and over for a long time. Like a scratchy sound, or it sounds like a Velcro wallet being ripped open over and over and over, or it sounds like he's shredding a tree, but when I go back there, nothing looks out of place. It's like I cannot figure out how he's making the sound, and I don't believe it's with his mouth. But that's one way I can tell right away when that's him, that he's there. And no matter where I put the recorders, he always finds them. He'll handle it at least once. Usually it looks like it's never been moved. Then I listen to it and he's handling it. And a few times he'll push buttons until it shuts off. That's no bear. Bear's pushing the buttons. And one time sometimes I like to leave things that will make sounds, and I left a greeting card that you open it up, plays music and stuff. And when I went back, he actually ripped the mechanism out of the card. See how deliberate that is? He went right. How did he know where it was, for one? He must have felt for it and ripped around it and threw it on the ground. And I put the food in a tub now. It's a clear tub because I thought if it's clear you can see, you won't think it's a booby trap or something, to keep the squirrels and other critters out. And I put a heavy metal railroad plate on top because I did start having squirrels and ravens coming in. And the squirrel's pretty easy to tell. He's very spastic. But once it's dark out, I know that's not the squirrel. But I've heard these sounds so long now, I've gotten pretty good at recognizing, yeah, he's there, or whatever. Let's see. I tried leaving a radio playing, and he still hung out by the recorder, by the radio, so I don't know what he thought of that. The radio didn't seem to be messed with. I don't really follow BFRO, but I did comment on a post one time, and Matt Moneymaker started chatting with me a little, and he recommended I take a box and make a fake bottom in the box, and you put the camera in there and put food, and supposedly he'll look in the box. I was going for a daytime photo, so I even taped the lights up, the infrared lights, because I didn't want anything to show. Well, he didn't look in the box. Unless he's cloaked. But I got several, it'll take short 15-second videos, and I got several videos he's bumping the box. Like, what's this thing going to do to me? And after dark sometime, he pulled everything out of it, and I could see like this, like a light signature. Remember the IR lights were covered up. So I don't know if that was like an arm or something. It drives me nuts when I see something and I know it's probably something that you don't know. I've left dice, and I'll come back and they'll be moved very deliberate. Like, I'll put them in a line, and one will be pulled forward, and they'll be turned to a different number, but they're still nice and neat. It wasn't just some animal running through knocking the dice over. And I'll joke that I'm playing Yahtzee with Bigfoot, because they were my Yahtzee dice, 5 dice. And I left a Yahtzee, which is all the same number, and I come back and I have them on a little clear tray. I had them all lined up, and then there's 3 ones in one corner and a 2 in the other corner and a 2 underneath it. I could see it through the see-through tray. So he had a full house. He hasn't always moved them. I don't want to leave the same thing too much because he'd probably get bored with it, right? And one time, well, sometimes I like to sanitize a wrapper because I'm trying to get some touch DNA, even though I can't afford to have it tested. But I sanitized this saltine wrapper. Got some clouds moving in. And it wasn't there. And I was walking down the railroad tracks, and here it was sitting there so pretty right between the rails. Crackers are gone. There are a few crumbs. And there was a nice clump of hair. It was blonde to reddish blonde, and I was so excited to find that. I was distracted by something else that day, but I know I got it back to the car, and I cannot find it. I looked all over. I went back the next morning, looked, and I cannot find it. I can't figure that out. Maybe he came back over, and it was by the car, and he took it back. I don't know if it was in the driveway there. So, for about 2 months, I heard some kind of small animal. It was like he was carrying it around with him. Because you could hear when he's handling the recorder or moving around, it would squeak more, like he was getting jostled around or squished or something. I have no idea. It wasn't a mouse. Someone thought it was a bat, and I thought it was a bat for a while. And I contacted somebody, and they said, no, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's a bat or not. But at first I thought he was bringing it to the recorder to eat it. But it sounds like he's carrying it with him. I know it's bizarre. I'm just telling you what I find on the recorder. So 3 times, something came breaking through the branches and sniffing the recorder very loudly. And they had never done this. So why would they suddenly start sniffing the recorder? I keep picturing a dog man. And I did look up sightings, and there was a sighting in the area. I don't know, but it's it's a very loud sniffing sound, and it goes for a while. And the 3rd time, whatever it was, an hour later, he found my other recorder, and you can hear him putting it in his mouth or by his mouth, and you hear him breathing on it. So we checked that out on my recorder. Go to the bottom of the page. If you hit Control F, you can do a search. Type in sniffing, and you'll find all my sniffing, all my sniffing clips. And, you know, I had no intention of starting a Bigfoot channel or being a YouTuber. I have an Etsy shop, so that's enough nightmare on its own, trying to be monetized. And it would be nice because it cost me money to do this and a lot of time, and I couldn't afford it. I wanted to get some better recorders, but he's taken 3 of them. So I think I'll stick with the cheap recorders for now. And let's see, where was I? The sniffing, yeah. The orbs, I mentioned that. He took 3 recorders, 2 toy cars, 5 dice total. It was like 1, and then the next time he took 4. I had to buy new dice. This year I thought I'll try putting in an ice cube tray, and I was kind of tickled because they fit so perfectly. You drop in, it plunks, and they sit. Anyway, I'm going to try the ice cube tray, putting the dice in there. I have a couple new gadgets to try and lots of new ideas. And yeah, I won't get into that right now. I do want to do another video on what I believe these things are. No one knows the exact makeup of what they are, but the Bible gives us a lot of big clues about how the fallen angels mated with human women and made a race of giants. And there were a lot of giants. I mean, how they've tried to hide that over the years and remove it from history. But they also corrupted the animal kingdom. I believe that's where a lot of the myths come from. Myths, you know, of part animal, part, you know, somewhere along the line they got crossed. So I believe they have DNA, and of course the expert scientists try to say, well, the DNA samples keep getting contaminated with human DNA. But there's this one woman in particular, her name's Ketchum, I believe. She went through all the proper protocols, the chain of custody, everything. These samples were not contaminated, and they still showed part human. So I believe they are part human and fallen angel down through the generations. So I believe they do have certain abilities. Like, I had a hard time wrapping my head around cloaking, but it's the only thing to explain how it can be right there and I can't see it. And I know some other people who had experiences with this. Like, one man he saw and saw a stick break. And there was nothing there. How do you explain that? So I want to do a video about that. And I feel like I probably missed stuff because I'm doing this in a couple parts, and I probably mentioned other things out of order. So I hope I got everything. So thank you for watching, and check out my new channel, Upper Peninsula Sasquatch. I'm not going to continue to download everything on my personal channel too. I'll start putting it just on that one. So thank you for watching.